Okay, people, welcome. Thank you for being here. Today's Tuesday, August 25th. I'm going to go ahead and share the slides with you all. Per usual, you should be logging into Canvas to begin your warm-up. It's a short warm-up, just 5 questions. The last question really doesn't have anything to do with, well, doesn't have that much to do with biology. And the first 4 questions are based on yesterday's presentation. So hopefully you've had a chance to look at yesterday's presentation if you weren't present in class for the live session. But if not, that's okay. You can still give it your best try. Keep in mind, though, that all of our assignments will be due a week from today on September 1st. So if you aren't able to get to something during class, you still have plenty of opportunity to knock it out during this upcoming week. Okay, so 6 minutes. That should be plenty of time to go ahead and knock out the warm up. got a little more than 2 minutes left on the warm-up. If you're just joining us, I appreciate you being here. I am going to go ahead and make some changes to my attendance because I did submit some of you as absent, but I see you're on the call now, so I will change that. But you should be logging into Canvas if you aren't already. And then under modules, our Unit 1 module, you should go ahead and go to Unit 1, Day 2, warm-up. You should be able to get it done really in the next 90 seconds or so because it is just that short and it's pretty easy. But if not, I will repeat myself and say that all of our assignments in Unit 1 will be due on September 1st, which is a week from today. And so if you miss a class or if you aren't able to get something done in the designated time during class, then you still have a week to go ahead and knock it out. So try to get the warm-up done now. And if not, then you still have until next Tuesday to get it done. Okay. So we're going to jump right into it. We do have we're already about 9 minutes into class, and I think we're going to take the entire 40 minutes today for our synchronous portion. So I want to go ahead and make the best use of our time. Can someone please just shout out and read the objectives for today? Be anybody, just go ahead and unmute yourself. Also, I do want to acknowledge the people, well, only one person has their camera shared. Guys, the cameras, I'm not going to force you to do it. I have no way of forcing you to do that. I understand there are reasons for you all not having your cameras on, but for me as your teacher, it just gives me an opportunity to, number one, know that you're engaged, know that you're paying attention and taking notes. But then probably more importantly, I can see your face and I can know, okay, something is not making sense to them right now. So the more faces I can see, the more helpful I'm going to be able to be during our live session. So please, I really want you to consider turning your cameras on. I get it. People's backgrounds are, they have a variety of stuff going on. You all aren't like necessarily waking up and beating your face every day. I understand that, but it helps me as your instructor to be able to see your faces so I can know, all right, they're paying attention and they understand what I'm saying. So take that to mind. I'm not going to spend too much time reiterating that right now, but will someone just go ahead and read our objectives? Okay, I'll call on somebody. DJ, can you read the objectives for us, please? Can you all hear me? Kyrie, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Kyrie, would you be willing to read the objectives? Because apparently DJ can't hear.
How you say that? BW.
Biologists will be able to.
Oh, biologists will be able to contract between energy producing compounds by completing a reflection activity.
Thank you so much. So today we're going to talk specifically about the two compounds that produce energy for us. And then you all will complete an activity during the asynchronous portion of class that compares and contrasts those two compounds. Can someone else please read the essential question for us? I appreciate you reading, Kyrie. Maybe Yanid or Merle, Chelsea, Ashley, Nick, somebody. I'm still waiting.
Hey, what you need?
DeMarco, can you go ahead and read for us, please?
Wait, the essential question?
Yes, please.
Differentiate between the function of carbohydrates and lipids.
Thank you so much. So we're differentiating between the function of carbs and lipids today. Again, that's going to help you complete the compare and contrast activity that you'll do during the asynchronous portion of class. But we're just talking about those two biological compounds today. Yesterday, we introduced the 4 biological compounds. Today, we're just focusing on those 2. All right. So to say a little bit more about the organic compounds, number one, actually, make sure you guys have your notes out. You should be in a position where you can write some notes. You can type your notes on your laptop or on your phone, but you should have some way of referring back to what we're discussing today during this presentation. Can someone remind me, what are the 4 organic compounds based on the notes that you took yesterday?
They lipids, protein, nucleic acids, and carbohydrates.
Excellent. Thank you, Makaran. That's 100% correct. So we've got those 4 biological compounds. Sometimes you'll hear me refer to them as macromolecules. Sometimes you'll hear me refer to them as organic compounds. Every time I'm referring to those same 4 things. Okay, so proteins, lipids, carbohydrates, and nucleic acids. They have several things in common, but the one thing that we're going to talk about right now is the fact that they're all considered organic molecules. So an organic molecule just means that it has carbon-hydrogen bonds. That means that you have a carbon atom that is bonded to at least one hydrogen atom. You can see that in this image here. You see the gray carbon atoms. You see the white hydrogen atoms, and they're bonded by these yellow bonds. All right, so that's what makes something organic. All of the compounds that we're talking about are organic, so they have those bonds. But then there are also inorganic compounds as well. Water is a great example of an inorganic compound. Inorganic compounds do not have those carbon-hydrogen bonds. So water, for example, is just one oxygen atom, and it's bonded to 2 hydrogen atoms. That's why it's called H2O. There are 2 hydrogen atoms. This is inorganic because, of course, it doesn't have any carbon at all, right? So in order for something to be considered organic, it has to have carbon. And that carbon also has to be bonded to hydrogen. So carbon dioxide has carbon, but there's no hydrogen bonded to it. All right, so that's just one of the things that these 4 compounds that Makaran just told us about. That's one of the things that they have in common. There are other similarities between them as well. So just as a quick review, please make sure you've written this down. We did talk about it yesterday. And of course, if you ever miss a class, I know we've got some people who are here today who weren't on the call yesterday. If you missed the class, then you can always go into the Canvas course and see the uploaded live session. So of course, I record the sessions typically by 3 o'clock every day. I will have uploaded the sessions, so you can just go in to that specific day and see the live recording. But we did talk about this yesterday, but just as a quick review, we've got monomers and polymers. Words that obviously rhyme, they sound alike, they are related, but there's a clear difference between them and an important difference between them. Mono is a prefix that means one or singular. Poly means many or plural. Okay, so a monomer is just one singular building block. You'll hear me refer to monomers as building blocks, as subunits, but I'm always talking about the same thing. And I'll send a message to the chat just to remind you of that. Monomers are building blocks and also known as subunits. All right. So monomers, if we think about this as Legos, we can draw an analogy between this concept and Legos. If I have one Lego brick, that would be considered a monomer, right? There's not too much that I can do with that. It's just this singular thing. I don't really break that down any further. It's just by itself. But if I take that one Lego block and then I combine it with another Lego block, now I've created a new structure. And that new structure would be called a polymer because there's more than one. All right, so that is a foundational concept that you all really need to understand. And Brian Shipes, thank you for joining us. I know we've got 3 Brians in this class, but I'm going to go ahead and change your attendance. Okay. All right. So polymers are made up of at least 2, but usually way more than 2 monomers. For example, most of the proteins that are in our body, like the keratin that makes up your hair and your fingernails, or the melanin that's in your skin, or the hormones that are released by your brain to other parts of your body. These are all examples of proteins, and they're made up of many thousands of monomers. All right, so it's not usually just 2 or 3, it's usually hundreds or thousands. But all 4 of our organic molecules are polymers. So again, I'm going to send a message to the chat. Oops. You'll hear me refer to the organic compounds as biological molecules or macromolecules or even polymers. So you should know when you hear me say those terms, organic compound or biological molecule or macromolecule or polymer, you should be thinking of those 4 compounds that Myron told us about just a few minutes ago: proteins, lipids, carbohydrates, and nucleic acids. Just as a reminder, please make sure that you are taking notes. And I really want you all to turn your cameras on, at least some of you. Some of you need to be the leaders. Turn your cameras on so that I can know if you all are understanding what I'm saying or not. Thank you, DeMarco. Thank you. I appreciate that. All right, I'm going to move on from here. Any questions about this before I do, though? Thank you, Myron. Thank you, Joseph. Thank you, Kyrie. Yeah, a quick head shake or a quick head nod, whatever you want to do, that'll let me know that you understand what we're talking about. Excellent. Okay, so the carbohydrates, that's what we're talking about first. So please make sure you have your notes. You're writing something down. Thank you, Holbert. Carbohydrates. The function is that they provide us with quick energy, which means that if I eat a carbohydrate, then I want to be able to use it almost immediately, but definitely within the next 24 hours. Carbohydrates are not something that you want to store in your body. You want to get rid of them as soon as you can. In fact, if you do start to store carbohydrates, that can actually be damaging to your body. They're usually stored in the form of fat or in the form of things that can be stuck in your blood vessels, things that can block your blood vessels. So carbohydrates are the polymer, and their monomer is called monosaccharides. I know that's a big word as well, but we're going to break that down. Monosaccharide. Maybe you already have some thoughts about what it means when you consider your prefixes and suffixes. Monosaccharide. Any questions about this? So I'm going to type another message to the chat. Thank you, Kyrie. The polymer is carbohydrates. The monomer is monosaccharide. Okay. We talked about this yesterday as well, but the atoms that are in carbohydrates are carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. That's true for all four of our organic compounds. All four of our organic compounds, all four of our macromolecules, all four of our biological compounds, whatever you want to call them, they all have carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Carbohydrates have those three elements in a 1:2:1 ratio. And we talked about that yesterday as well. So somebody just remind me, if I have 4 carbons, then how many hydrogens should I have, considering that they're in a 1:2:1 ratio? If I have 4 carbons, how many hydrogens should I have?
4.
8.
Thank you, Joseph. I should have 8. Okay, now let's break that down a little bit more, because I heard somebody else say 4. If I have 4 carbons, hydrogen should always be twice the number of carbon, right? So if I have 4 carbons, then I need 2 times that number of hydrogens. So I need 8. And then the 1:2:1 ratio tells us that if I have 1 carbon, then I need 1 oxygen. So if I have 4 carbons, then I need 4 oxygens. Let's do another one, just very simple math. If I have 6 carbons, how many hydrogens should I have?
12.
12, thank you. And how many oxygens should I have?
6.
And 6, yeah. So that's what the 1:2:1 ratio is. If you need a little bit more help understanding ratios, please don't hesitate to ask, and we can try to explain that a little bit further. I do want to shout out I'm gonna shout out the 5 of you, or I guess 6 of you, because DeMarco just turned his off, who have their cameras on. Thank you for being leaders, Kyrie, Jobert, Makairon, DeMarco, Catherine, Joseph. I appreciate you all. Okay. And then also, if you're writing down your notes, please make sure that you write down that very simple picture of what a carbohydrate looks like. It's essentially like a chain link fence. And each link in the chain is a hexagon, so it has 6 sides. And that's intentional, that's important. All right, so each of these hexagons would be considered one monomer. But when I link them together, I start to create a bigger and bigger polymer. So I'll give you guys some time to try to write that or draw that image. It's a chain of hexagons. Okay. Okay, so you can see this hexagon again. You can see that they have 6 sides, and that's because they have typically 6 carbons. That's where we get that shape. All right. So monosaccharide, I asked you to kind of think through how you could break that word up. Mono, we should know, means 1. That's what I was just talking about. The suffix saccharide means sugar. That's where we get the word sucrose from. You've heard of high sucrose corn sugar or high fructose corn sugar. Okay. So monosaccharide, I just put the 2 together. That means 1 sugar. Now this is important over here. Please write this down or type it, whatever you're doing to take notes. Monosaccharide, a monosaccharide is glucose. These other 2 are less important. This one is less important, the disaccharide, but it's just an example. So of course, if I have a monosaccharide, that means 1 sugar. Disaccharide means 2 sugars because the prefix di means 2. So disaccharide is 2 sugars, and that's called sucrose. Then in this case, I have 1, 2, 3, 4 sugars. So we just use the prefix poly, which means many. But this type of sugar is called amylose. Let me ask you, it's going to come up on another slide, but I just want to see who's really paying attention here. What do you notice about all three of these words here? Glucose, sucrose, and amylose.
They all have O's.
Oh. They all end in O's. Thank you. I think that was Brian. I appreciate that. That's what we need to.
They're wrong.
Catherine, were you going to say something?
They're wrong.
They're wrong? Oh, they rhyme. Yeah, they all end in O's. That OSE ending is extremely important. So it's going to come up on the next slide. But most sugars end in OSE. That's a huge hint, guys. I can almost guarantee you that if you can remember that, you'll get at least two. That's like 2 free questions on every test. If you can just remember that sugars end in OSE. So you see a word that ends in OSE, it should automatically trigger in your mind sugar. It should trigger in your mind carbohydrate. And you can also think about, sometimes as when you're younger or when you're a little kid, you'll hear about people being in a sugar rush, or some people say sugar high. But when little kids have, they drink something really sugary, or when they eat a lot of candy, they're bouncing off of the walls, for a couple of hours, but then they just crash. All right. So that's a good example of what carbohydrates provide for our bodies. They give us quick energy, but then after a while, it just runs out. We burn those carbohydrates really quickly. And so once you've burned them, you lose that energy, and you need to replace it with something else. All right. So please write down these 4 common examples of carbohydrates. They are all sugars. Most sugars end in OSE, but each of these examples is a type of sugar. Giving people time to write or type, whatever they're doing to take notes. It looks like I see Kyrie writing. I think Catherine's writing too. Hopefully those of you who I cannot see are also taking notes. I appreciate everybody being here today and sticking with us, being attentive. And then while people are finishing up their notes for this page, I just want to point out some examples on the right side. So most foods have carbohydrates. Most foods, almost all foods, will have at least some amount of sugar, but there are some natural sugars that are better for you than others. Most fruits have some good natural sugars. Potatoes have a lot of starch in them, which is a type of sugar. Of course, the plants that we eat have cellulose because plants have cellulose. So asparagus, green peas, they have some cellulose. And then the meat that you eat also has some sugars in it. So almost all foods have some carbohydrates, but there are just different types. Okay. And then glucose, of course, as it came up in the last slide, glucose, when I say monosaccharide, you should be thinking glucose. Glucose is the monomer of carbohydrates. Glucose is also known as monosaccharides. I'll type that into the chat just so people have an opportunity to write it down if they are able to hear me. Glucose is the monomer of carbohydrates. It is also known as monosaccharide. All right. So we also want to practice some test taking strategies in this class. Obviously, we will be taking several quizzes each unit. And then we're ultimately trying to keep in mind that we have an EOC that we'll take in January. And our goal on every formal assessment, including the EOC, is to demonstrate mastery, which means that you really fully grasp the material. In order to demonstrate mastery, though, you've got to have some good test taking strategies. And this is important beyond biology. You're going to use this on almost all of your assessments, whether it's related to school or related to employment. This is just important because it allows you to identify the key terms, and then it allows you to make associations between the key terms that you see in the question and some of your other knowledge that you can draw on. So for example, we've got this question that's highlighted in purple. It says, which of the following correctly describes a carbohydrate? So what is the most important term in this question? Someone just go ahead and unmute themselves and shout it out. Thank you, Kyrie. The word is carbohydrate. So at this point, I should already be establishing some associations between the word carbohydrate and what I already know, right? So again, multiple people, just unmute yourself, and what should I be thinking about when I see that word carbohydrate? To give you a hint, you could just think about the things that have come up on the last few slides. Go ahead, Joseph.
Monosaccharides.
Monosaccharides, that's a good one. Catherine, did you have something?
Every time I see it or hear that word, I think of acid, like some type of acid.
Okay. And so maybe we want to think about acid. I think after we go through tomorrow's lesson, that might change your views on that a little bit, because we have something else called a nucleic acid that'll change the way you think about it. Brian, I saw you unmuted yourself. Did you have something you wanted to add?
I was gonna say quick energy.
Quick energy. So those are two that I really want to focus on. Joseph said monosaccharide, and Brian says quick energy. Anything else that we're already thinking about? Anything else that we already know about carbohydrates that we want to make sure we mention?
It's C, right?
Yes, the answer is C. So let's break that down. Well, just tell me, Kyrie, what made you know that it was C?
Quick energy and monosaccharides.
Okay, so we see the word monosaccharide and we see the word quick energy, but I also see those same words in A, in answer choice A. So how did you know it's not A?
I didn't.
Or anybody? What's the difference between A and C?
A said it gives it monosaccharides. She said it's made up of it.
Exactly. Yeah. So good. Thank you, Joseph. So essentially what we have here, A and C are almost exact opposites of each other. A says that carbohydrates are made up of quick energy and they give the body monosaccharides. C says that carbohydrates are made up of monosaccharides and they give the body quick energy. So we see that they just flipped. And in general, when you see that in an answer choice, it's not always going to be true, but when you see two opposites in answer choices, one of them is probably the answer, because either one of them is true and the other's not, or that one's true and the other one is not. Okay, so we just needed to be careful because we see the correct words. We see quick energy, we see cell structure, we see monosaccharides, but we see them in two different answer choices. So we need to figure out which one of them says those words correctly. Can anyone tell me why answer choice B is incorrect? It says a macromolecule that is made up of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen in a 2:1:1 ratio. What's wrong with that?
Is it the 2:1:1
Yeah.
ratio?
Thank you, Brian. So that 2:1:1 ratio is incorrect. What's the correct ratio?
1 to 2:1 ratio.
1 to 2:1. Excellent. 1:1. Yeah. So here they have 2:1:1. It should be 1:1. All right. So that was something that was really small. And if you're like trying to go quickly in a test, you might see that and accidentally overlook it and choose B as the answer. And then D says a macromolecule that is responsible for creating long-term energy. So we automatically, based on what, I don't remember, I think it was Brian who said quick energy. We should know, looking at D, it's not long-term energy. We need to be focusing on quick energy. So that's what you want to do when you're looking at these questions. And of course, you don't have 5 minutes to do it. You really only have, maybe 90 seconds to get through this answer and move on to another question. So you need to identify the key terms, You make your associations by doing a brain dump, either by writing on paper or by just mentally associating it. And then you want to come back and revisit the question before you choose your answer. Okay. So the other organic compound that we're talking about today is, is lipids. So we see that lipids do provide that long-term energy. Carbs were short-term. Lipids are long-term. They both provide energy, but carbs are best for short-term energy and lipids are best for long-term energy. They also provide insulation, which means that they help keep an organism warm. They help to make sure that heat is trapped on the inside. And then they also make up our cell membranes. We'll talk more about that in Unit 2. But cell membranes are essentially the outermost layer of the cell.
Can you keep it right?
So if lipids are the polymer, go ahead, I heard a question. Oh, I thought I heard a question. Okay. Lipids are the polymer. The monomer that makes up lipids, and I appreciate you, David, having your camera on. If lipids are the polymer, then the monomers that make up lipids are the glycerol backbone and 3 fatty acid tails. That's a little confusing, but once you see an image of it, it'll make more sense. Essentially, it looks like the letter E. I guess for you all, it needs to look like that. It looks like the letter E. It's got a backbone, a capital E. It's got a backbone that goes straight up and down, and then it has 3 tails that come off of it. We'll look at that on the next slide. Okay. And lastly, what are the atoms that make up lipids? We know hydrogen, we know oxygen. What's behind this orange block?
Carbon.
Carbon. Excellent. So I'll give you all some time. Make sure you are taking notes here. I'll give you some time to make sure you get everything from this slide. Okay. So make sure you get down these 4 common examples of lipids, just like we had common examples of carbohydrates. Lipids are your fats, and they're also your waxes. So, for example, we can think of a common example of lipids is the blubber that whales have. Most whales exist in very cold water, either in the North Atlantic or in the North Pacific. And so they need a lot of insulation to remain warm. So they are surrounded by what's called blubber, and blubber is lipids. Also, steroids are lipids. So you all, I'm sure, have heard of steroids. Sometimes athletes will take steroids as a performance-enhancing drug because the steroids allow them to build muscle faster, but the steroids also allow them to recover from injury faster. So in medicine, oftentimes we use steroids to help treat diseases or to help the body recover from injury. However, there are side effects to those steroids. Some of the steroids can lead to what's called roid rage because they have an impact on your brain that makes you more angry, and it makes your mood much more shifty. And then also steroids, if you see someone who is going through chemotherapy, oftentimes they will be prescribed steroids to prevent some of the side effects of the chemotherapy. And those steroids can make their face more plump. It can make them gain weight and get fatter for a short period of time. But steroids are in many ways just like any other lipids in that they have this very basic structure. They're made up of this monomer here. So as you can see, this blue rectangle represents the glycerol backbone. And then each of these purple rectangles represents the 3 fatty acid tails. So this would be considered one monomer of a lipid. And then of course, as I combine one monomer to another monomer and then to another monomer, what I do is I'm creating a polymer. Any questions up to this point? I'm looking to see if I see anyone shaking their head. Okay, thank you, Kyrie. Catherine, thank you. All right, thanks, Makara. I'm not gonna focus on this slide. So here's an example. You can see even within our bodies, this is an image of the front part of someone's leg. So there's a muscle called the soleus plexus there, but this person is undergoing some type of surgery, probably because of some tendinitis that they're experiencing. If you've ever heard of athletes experiencing what's called plantar fasciitis, that can be very painful in your foot and in your ankle. And it's just inflammation or swelling of the ligaments, the tendons that are in your ankle and surrounding your foot. So this person is undergoing surgery there, and you can see all of this yellow stuff that's immediately under the skin. That's fat. Okay, and so fat is actually a good thing for most of our bodies. We need fat to provide us insulation and to provide protection, because we don't want our organs directly exposed. So in many parts of our bodies, we need some amount of fat. Now, obviously, we can vary along the range of health. So you can have some fat, or some people who have less fat who are still healthy. Then you also have some people who have more fat who are still healthy. But as you start to approach the extremes on any end of the spectrum, that's when it becomes a bit more dangerous. All right, so some fat is a good thing. And in fact, some fat is necessary for life. But when you start to approach that extreme, that's not a good thing. Any questions about this image? Okay. Interesting. No questions. I thought this one was going to get you all. I'm not going to do that. All right. So yeah, we've been going for 45 minutes. So we've got 30 minutes left in class. That should be plenty of time to knock out the exit ticket as well as the Canvas assignment for the day. So if I go into Canvas, I'll share my screen. In Canvas, you should see under day 2. So I'm in module 1. I'm sorry, the unit 1 module. I go down to day 2. You should see the assignment, carbohydrates versus lipids. That's what I want you all to go to, click on. Once you do that, it'll take you to this page. And you'll just have to click on this link, and it tells you the directions right here. You have to make a copy of the assignment. Please make sure you change the name of your document. So make sure your name is in the document. And then, of course, to submit it, all you have to do is save it to your biology Google folder. So some of you have not yet shared your Google folder with me. If you haven't created your Google folder yet, then you don't have anywhere to submit this assignment. So you need to make sure that you've created your Google folder first. And then you can save this assignment in your Google folder, and that'll automatically give me access to it. All right, so that's what you all should be focused on for the next 29 minutes. We do also have an exit ticket. I am going to put myself on mute, but I'll still be here if you have any questions.
Wait, can you explain what we're doing again?
Yes. So under the Unit 1 module, scroll down to day 2, typing this in the chat as well. Under the unit 1 module, hold on. Go down to day 2, and you should see an assignment called carbohydrates versus lipids.
Can you turn my camera off?
Yes. Click on that assignment. Complete this assignment. And submit it by saving it in your Google biology folder. You can also complete the exit ticket for the day. You should have plenty of time to do both of those things. David, can you share your screen? Let's see if we can try to do it a different way. I'll start presenting mine. Okay, go back to, click on My Drive. Are you using a Chromebook?
Yeah.
Okay.
The one from the school.
Okay. So on your Chromebook, I think there's a button that says, is there a control button on the Chromebook?
Control. Yeah.
Okay. So hold that down and then click on biology folder.
Okay.
Nothing? Nothing happened?
I don't know. I mean, I'm holding control the button and
I'm clicking biology folder.
Okay, is there an, I'm trying to picture the Chromebook keyboard.
Can you go back to the where the warm up was at? I mean, not the warm up, but the what's it called? The end.
What are you talking about, Kyrie?
The exit ticket.
Okay, yeah, I'll show you that in a minute. David, watch me read. So is there a button that says like Alt or ALT on there?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Weird.
I'm not sure why it's not letting you click on it. That's really weird.
Why don't you?
So go back into it again.
What do you mean?
Go into your biology folder again.
Yeah, okay.
Actually, here's what I'll do, David. I'll make the folder for you.
Oh, you can do that?
Yeah, I can make a folder, and then I'll share it with you, and you should get it, and then you can just submit your work in that way, in that place.
Oh, okay then. Yeah, I appreciate it.
Hold on, stay here though. Let's just make sure that it works.
Yeah, okay.
Catherine, were you gonna say something?
After I make the copy, what do I do?
After you make the copy, change it so that your name is in the title of the document. So make sure it says, who was that? DeMarco who just said that? Oh, that was Kyrie.
I don't have nothing to say.
Okay. So just make sure you. Okay. Yeah. So DeMarco, just make sure you share or you change the name of the document so that you have your name in it, and then you can.
Top left.
Yeah, in the top left.
All right.
And then you just, you complete the assignment, and then you just make sure you save it in your biology Google Drive. Okay, David, go back to your Google Drive for a second. Do you see on the left side where it says shared with me?
When I change the name, I share it with you.
All you have to do, DeMarco, is place it in your Google Drive. So just make sure you save it in your biology folder in your Google Drive.
Is it this one that you sent me?
Yes. So now what you need to do is like hold that down, click on it and hold it down. Oh, do you see that button where it says add a shortcut to Drive?
Yeah, I press OK.
Yeah, press OK and then click on that little triangle thing.
And wait, how do I save it to my folder?
Yeah, that. Okay. So David, now I'm going to answer your question in a minute, DeMarco. But David, if you go back to my drive now, on the left side, should be there. Okay, it's not. All right, so no, go back to shared with me. So click on the folder and like hold it down and drag it into my drive. Yep. Now just drop it. Just let it go. Yeah. Did that work?
I mean, I let it go when I was dragging it.
Try it again. Wait for the plus to come up. Yeah, try it now.
Yeah.
That is so weird. Why? I don't know why it's not working.
I don't know. It's weird. I've been trying to do it by myself, but it's been doing the same thing.
Okay, so anyway, at least you have the folder now.
Hmm.
So that's where you should save your work, your biology work.
This one right here. Okay, then.
Yes. Yeah. All right. You can stop sharing your screen, and then DeMarco, can you share yours, because I think some people will also need to see this as well. But thank you, David.
All right.
DeMarco, are you able to share? Yeah, thank you. Cool. All right. So if you go into File,
I don't see the thing.
Do you see where it says Move at the bottom? Go to File, and then it says Move. Yeah, so it is this your, yeah, it's already in your biology folder. So you're good.
My bad. I ain't try to leave.
Yeah, look, I figured that was a mistake.
So now that that's done, that's all we have to do today. Or is it more?
Once you complete the assignment, did you actually like type into the assignment?
Oh,
Wait, Mr. Rudd, what you mean by typing the assignment?
Do you see the assignment directions on the first slide?
Yeah, when it's telling me how to make a copy and stuff.
Um, no. So did you open? Yeah, you opened it because you shared your screen. So on the first slide of this presentation that you just made a copy of, it says use your notes or the slides used in class to complete this mind map. Then on the second slide is where you would actually type into the mind map. So it says type carb fact 1 here. It says type carb fact 2 here, similarity 1 here. Here, let me share my screen so you see what I'm talking about. So on this second slide here is where I can actually type my answers. So all I have to do is click on it. Then I can erase this and I can type in, here's my, whatever your facts are. Here's my fact about carbohydrates. You know what I mean?
Uh,
What's up, David?
yeah. When the folder that you shared me, like when I try to click it to open it, like I'm over here clicking it, it's not like doing nothing. When I'm trying to open
What are you clicking on?
the folder that you shared with me,
Oh, the folder is not opening.
yeah, like I'm clicking in.
I think something might be wrong with your Chromebook.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I don't
I
know why
think
it's doing like this.
Yeah, I think something might be wrong with your Chromebook. So if you have an opportunity either this week or next week to come replace your Chromebook, I think that'll make a difference. So
Are
I
they
think
still
something's
like
just not working with
are they still like at
with the
school
mouse
over there?
pad.
If they help you,
What'd you say?
I said like are they still over there like at school if people need help with the computers?
Yeah, you can go here. I'll send the times to the chat.
Okay then. Yeah, I might go maybe this week to see what's the problem.
So you can go to the school Monday, Wednesday, or Friday from 9 a.m. until noon, or Tuesday or Thursday from noon until 3 p.m. if you need to get your Chromebook replaced, or if you need to get a charger, or just any technical issues, any technology issues you're having.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, people, it's 1:20 now. So if there are no other questions, you all are good to go. I do want to reiterate that all of the assignments will be due on Canvas by September 1st, which is a week from today. So if you weren't able to accomplish or finish something today, then you still have a week to get it done. Please let me know, per usual, if you have any questions. I'm going to make sure that I upload the recording in the next 30 minutes or so. Otherwise, have a good day.
Bye.